Hey you guys, it's Mish. Welcome back to my channel. I'm more than grateful that you decided to click on this video. Today's video is going to be geared towards budgeting, and let me be the first to say, if you're not already budgeting, you're slacking big time. So while this video is geared towards budgeting, it's more specific towards people that are budgeting in order to become debt free. Now, the tips are going to be helpful regardless. However, I feel that they're geared more specifically to those individuals who do want to become debt free. Now, I've been budgeting for 3 years now, and there's 5 things that I think I've learned to help me create a solid budget. So if that's something that interests you, be sure to stick around and catch the rest of the video. But if you haven't already, be sure to hit the like and subscribe button. And yeah, let's get into this video. First thing that you're gonna want to do is to write down all of your debt. Now, you can order your debt from smallest to largest, which is known as the snowball method, or you can order your debt from largest to smallest, which is known as the avalanche method. It really doesn't matter which approach you take, because at the end of the day, you're going to be paying off debt. However, if you need to have some encouragement along the way and to know that you're staying on track and you're paying off your debts and kind of getting that little mental check note that you're moving down the list at a quicker pace, you might want to start with the debt snowball method. Because keep in mind, if you take the avalanche approach, it's going to be you're paying your largest debt first, and depending on how big that is, that might take a long time, and you might get discouraged along the way knowing that you have to wait so long until you pay off that debt. But as I said, at the end of the day, you're gonna pay off all your debt, so it's just whichever one feels right to you. The next thing that you're gonna wanna do is to make a financial goal. Now, this financial goal should be something that is gonna push you / compel you to change the habits that you currently have. And don't sell yourself short when making this goal, because understand that sacrifices will need to be made in order to attain whatever financial goal that you set out for yourself. Now, something to keep in the back of your head is to make sure that the goal is a SMART goal, which is specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based. If you keep those things in mind when creating your goal, then you should be setting yourself up for a positive outcome. And keep in mind that sometimes the difference between reaching your goal is not reaching your goals is as simple as the things that you're willing to do and not do, and the sacrifices that you're willing to make / the things that you're willing to give up and not partake in. The third thing that you want to do is to track your spending for at least a month. And the reason that you're tracking your spending is to give you a better idea of where your money is currently going, whether that's primarily bills, personal money, food, subscriptions, stuff that may not be all that necessary, and to give you kind of a bigger picture or ideal of areas that you might need to cut back on in order to reach your goals financially. The fourth thing that you want to do is to actually create your budget. Now, when creating your budget, keep in mind you need to start with the necessities, which is transportation, housing, insurance, and food, and then you're going to move on to things that aren't all that essential. Now, after those 4 things, I personally would factor in my debt and how much I'm going to pay each month to my debt, and then after I've done that, I would then factor in my personal money. So this part is a little tricky, and I say it's a little tricky because it's the point where people realize the emotional attachment that they have to money. Now, when factoring in debt, I know that I don't like paying out large sums of money. So essentially, I can make more frequent payments and feel better that way versus just saving up till I get $3,000 to make a payment. That's what works for me, because I know that if I save $3,000, I would be like, hey, well, I'll just put this amount in my high yield savings account, and then I'll just put the rest towards the debt and then blah blah blah, and one thing turns into another thing. So that's something to keep in the back of your head. Another thing to keep in mind when creating your budget is that there's two different approaches that you can take. There's an amount-based way to pay off your debt, and then there's a time-based day to pay off your debt. When it comes to an amount base, that's where you decide like, hey, I have $500 after each paycheck that I've allotted to go towards debt. Now, on a date based one, you come up with your head like, hey, by December 15th, I want to pay off this debt, and then you kind of factor in how many paychecks you have in between the current date and your end date, and then whatever number you come up with, you'll be like, hey, so I have 15 paychecks between now and my end date, so I'm gonna divide 15 by $1,500, and I know that each pay period I need to be paying $100 minimum if I want to reach this goal by December 15th. Now, if you want to get a better look at that, be sure to check out my Becoming Debt Free video. In there, I give you an actual example of a date-based goal that I came up with. Now, there's different ways to actually create your budget. So you can do it on a sheet of paper, you can do it on an app, or you can do it on the computer with just a simple Excel sheet. I've done all of them. The one that I specifically like the best is paper, but I am a paper type of person, so it doesn't surprise me. But just because I like to go in and check things off and carry it with me and just have a physical copy. Now, some people are perfectly fine with having an app. One of the popular apps that I know of is Every Dollar, which is Dave Ramsey's app. If you don't know who he is, I suggest that you look him up. He offers some phenomenal advice, especially when it comes to becoming debt free and things of that nature. The advice that I have for you is to revisit your goal/budget on a consistent basis. I like to revisit my budget on a monthly basis and to see which areas I did very well in and which areas I can improve in. And then I like to revisit my overall financial goal every 3 to 4 months just to make sure that I'm on track to reach the annual financial goal that I set up for myself. Now, keep in mind, when you're revisiting your goals or your budget, you're checking to see if everything is still in alignment and to make sure that you're on track to reach your goal, as well as making sure that you don't need to revise your overall financial plan. And keep in mind, life happens. Sometimes you are going to have to revise your goal just based on everything that occurred within your life within that particular time frame. I want to thank you guys for taking the time to watch my video. In the comments below, let me know some of the things that you're currently doing which has aided you in creating a solid budget. And for those of you who may be new to budgeting, or you keep making mistakes, understand that mistakes are gonna happen. That's why you look and you find new ways to come up with something that suits you and your lifestyle. And it's not just gonna happen overnight. And if you're budgeting in order to get out of debt, understand that it's a process and it takes time. Some people are able to pay off debt quicker than others, but don't let that discourage you from continuing down your journey. So trust the process, enjoy your journey. Don't compare your right now to somebody's end goal, because we all have our own specific lives that don't mirror the next person's life. Again, be sure to check out some of my other content, and I'll see you guys in the next